Our Father in heaven, we thank you once again for allowing us to be gathered this day in the different parts of the world so that we would be able to study your holy teachings and commandments. But before we may go on, we would want to reflect and thank you so much for all your blessings that you continuously give to your people. We will never stop in worshiping and praising you for all the things that you do. Thank you so much, O Lord, for your guidance, for the everyday blessings, and for the guidance that you bestow upon us. Thank you for also blessing our brothers and sisters in the different parts of the world, even in the midst of the great persecution and oppression that the family of the late executive minister experiences, and also all the other ministers and all officers that were persecuted. Oh, Father, we thank you that you give us happiness through means of your Spirit, through means of your touch, that you provide your people in times of our needs. So, Lord, may you please allow that someday those who may also be in jail, Brother Angel, they'll be freed, dear Father, that together with all our other brothers and sisters, we could always give glory and praise to you. Before we may go on, we ask that you please bless your servant who is to expound your holy teachings. As you expound your teachings, may you send forth the power of your Holy Spirit, so that all the more those who are not yet enlightened will be enlightened. On behalf of those who are already called and enlightened, be stronger in their trust and faith in you to go on magnifying your holy name. Dear Lord Jesus, we never forget to approach you. May you please bring our prayers to our Father in heaven. May we receive all the things we ask for. And Father, we return to you and ask everything in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus. Amen.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, especially those who are abroad, and good morning or good afternoon in those brothers and sisters in different parts of the world. A lot of our brethren are now tuning in, not only through Zoom, but also through Facebook Live, for them to be able to join us in our Bible studies like this. Now, brothers and sisters, we're so fortunate, and we thank God, most of all, because of the overwhelming response and support of our brethren, even those who are still in the institution. And they are very eager to be able to follow through with our Bible study, because they've been messaging me and telling me we're very excited for part 2, because it is only but now that they start to realize the authenticity of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo's accession to the office of the executive minister. Now, brothers and sisters, for those who still doesn't know, all of the documents that we have presented in the previous Bible study, you can all have a copy of them. We encourage everyone. It's open. You just have to go to our website, which is www.smallremnant.org/archives. Just go there. You can log in, and you'll be able to access all of the documents. So you don't have to do a lot of screenshots whenever we have Bible studies. You can have your own copy, examine those documents, be able to discern them. If you want, you can even present them to the resident minister or whoever, even a lawyer, even an accountant, so they can all have a look at it and they can verify the authenticity of those documents. Now, brothers and sisters, before we go to our PowerPoint presentation right now, we would like to encourage everyone to have an open mind, because a lot of people, when they heard that we're trying to expose the truth about the authenticity and validity, legality of the executive minister position of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, they thought that we are merely attacking the person, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. No, that is not true at all. What we are trying to do, brothers and sisters, is to be able to ask freely about the authenticity of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo's ascension to the position of executive minister. And they are encouraged also to answer back, provide proof, documents, legal documents, so that there will be no questions in the minds of the brethren regarding the authenticity of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo's position. Now, can we share the keynote? You know, brothers and sisters, I was so excited when I woke up this morning because I heard a lot of people were sending me messages already that there's already episode 16. I was so excited thinking that, you know, probably Brother Michael, Brother Bob, Brother Bobby, Brother Zane, and Brother Joe would probably tackling the issue on the validity, legality of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo as the executive minister. I was expecting so much that they would be providing us with documents, legal documents to counterprove their point that there is no question about the legality of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo's position. Now, let us continue with our Bible study as part 2 of the previous one. Next slide. The title of our Bible study lesson is Deceptive Spirits of Our Time. Now, the reason why we have to study regarding the deceptive spirits of our time is simply because the Bible makes mention of these deceptive spirits, specifically for our time. So if we are not educated regarding the deceptive spirits, if we are not aware of these deceptive spirits, then it is so easy for us to fall to these deceptive spirits, to be gullible, to be able to be duped by people with influence, and other people will not be able to discern the truth. Now, what does the Bible say about that? In 1 Timothy 4:1 up to 2, this is what we can read. Let no one in any way deceive you, for it will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God or object of worship, so that he takes his seat in the temple of God, displaying himself as being God. Now, brothers and sisters, the reason why it's so dangerous for us not to be able to be aware of deceptive spirits, because there would be people who would deceive us. And this deception, according to the verse, for it will not come unless the apostasy comes first. There is a looming apostasy. A man will be revealed. This man, according to the verse, is the son of destruction, man of lawlessness. So this man would exalt himself as being God, the object of worship. He would love and cherish the adoration and veneration of the people around him, as if exalting himself to be God or the level of God. Now, the reason why we have to study this, brothers and sisters, because deception comes very easy for people who lies. And it comes very easy also for them to be able to deceive people, especially if the people would look at them and think that these are the people who cannot lie. These are the people who will not lie to me, especially if they are people of authority, of influence, if they are religious leaders. So let's take the term deception. What is the meaning of deception? We're just brushing up on our previous lesson, the deception, like what you can read here, the act of causing someone to accept as true or valid what is false and invalid. So in a nutshell, deception, next slide, to hide something of value, to hide the truth, propagate a belief, use propaganda. All of these tools they will use to deceive people until the lie finally becomes the truth in their mind. So that is why it is very important. So let us study the history of the church. Okay, next slide. We all know what happened during the time of the executive ministers of the church. It was Brother Felix Y. Manalo, Brother Ranyo G. Manalo, then Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. We have all the presented dates during their reign as the executive ministers. Now, what happened during the death or demise of Brother Ranyo G. Manalo? Next slide. The whole church was in mourning. The whole church, the ministers, the church officers, the brethren. So everybody was mourning. We were all saddened by the news. We were not expecting it. We were hoping that Brother Ranyo G. Manalo would be the one to shepherd us all the way until we reach our salvation. So what happened after his death? Next slide. There was a void. There was a vacuum in the church administration. In the whole church, everybody was longing for our executive minister. So in our longingness, because of that void that we feel inside the church, not having an executive minister, in our memory, most of us grew up in a time that we were able to either witness or heard the news of the oath-taking of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Next slide. And this happened in 1994. When Brother Eduardo V. Manalo swore an oath in front of Brother Ranyo G. Manalo and the whole church as the Deputy Executive Minister. Now, something to understand during this time, brothers and sisters. Next slide. The church yearned for a spiritual leader. The church accepted EVM without hesitation. The church accepted EVM without any question. Why? Because we were longing for somebody to shepherd the church. And because of that, because we know that he took an oath as the deputy executive minister, and normally, understandably, he would be the next executive minister. That is why, next slide, we all had our new executive minister. The whole church was happy. We were feeling fulfilled, and we're now complete, knowing that there is a shepherd, a steward for the whole church. And it is normal for us to embrace Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, thinking, next slide, that he is actually his father's son. He studied under the feet of Gamaliel, under the feet of Brother Ranyo G. Manalo. He was there to study and be trained by the executive minister himself, Brother Ranyo G. Manalo. So everybody felt the assurance that we were in good hands under the leadership of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Not one would even dare question his authority, his legality, his validity. Brothers and sisters, the thought of asking whether Brother Eduardo V. Manalo is the rightful executive minister did not pass anybody's mind at all. We trusted that he was anointed, he was guided by the Holy Spirit. So going back, let's build a timeline. So for us to fully understand what happened to the church. Next slide. So if we were to have a timeline of the church administration of the church, 1914 FYM, 1963, Brother Ranyo G. Manalo, 2009, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, up to the present. So at this point, we would think that Brother Eduardo V. Manalo is now shepherding the church to the pinnacle of success, progress, because this is no longer the infancy of the church. This is already we're reaching the pinnacle that was established, nurtured, and developed by Brother Felix Y. Manalo and Brother Ranyo G. Manalo. Now, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo would usher in a new generation for the church to grow, for it to be able to succeed even more. So for us to fully understand if the church is in its progress state, if the church is actually at the pinnacle of its success, we have to understand what was the condition or situation of the church before it was transferred to him as the executive minister. So let's go back in history Next slide. And let's see what happened to the church, or what was the situation or the condition of the church during the reign of Brother Eraño G. Manalo. And this was an excerpt from his speech in the 75th anniversary, July 27, 1989. It's a video. Do we have?
Paano natutustusan ng Iglesia ni Cristo ang lahat at ang iba pang mga proyekto nito? Masasabi natin ang Iglesia ni Cristo na nagsimula rito sa Pilipinas, sinimula ng isang Pilipino at itinataguyod ng angaw-angaw ng mga Pilipino, ay tumayo sa kanyang sariling paa. Wala hong tumutustos na dayuhan. Wala hong foreign aid. Sa madaling sabi, ang Iglesia ho ni Cristo ay walang utang kahit nasa ang bangko. Ang Iglesia ni Cristo ay hindi ho nagsasangla ng mga titulo ng lupa para lamang makakuha ng pondo. Bukas ang opisina ng Iglesia pag nakakita kayo ng kahit isang titulo na may gravamen o mayroong marka ng pagkakasangla, maghiwa-hiwalay na tayo.
Let's pause at that point. You know what? A brief history, brothers and sisters. This video right here was actually one of the first videos that was published on social media that caused so many brethren to be hacked or to be attacked because they wanted to shut this video down. Anybody in possession of this video, even before, were either traced, they were called into the district, and they were made to delete this video. It was almost already deleted. It's a good thing that there were some who were able to save this video. Now, the thing with this video, the reason why they want to erase this from history, from memory, is because of exactly what Brother Eraño G. Manalo mentioned in his speech. Remember, that was 1989. I know that a lot of us still remember the speech of Brother Eraño G. Manalo. He even stated that the funds of the church could even pay the debt of the whole country, the Philippines. Can you imagine the financial stability of the church during that time? Brother Eraño G. Manalo said it was standing on its own feet. It did not rely on any foreign fund. It was just basically, it did not have any loans or any debt from any banks, none whatsoever. That is why the executive minister was so confident. He was even so proud to state that if you can even see even one document, a property of the church that is mortgaged, then that's enough reason for us to separate or part ways. Why? Because you wouldn't see any. He even invited the brethren, go to the office. It's open. You can investigate. You can ask questions. You can look at the actual documents, and you will not find any property that is being mortgaged or the church having any bank loans or debt in any banks. Now, the question is that the same situation when Brother Eduardo V. Manalo took the reins from Brother Eraño G. Manalo? Now, before we continue, brothers and sisters, there is a prophecy. And before, it was so hard for us to accept this prophecy because it is not the direction we were thinking of that it was happening in the church. It was already growing. It was almost at its pinnacle. But the prophecy in Isaiah 1:8, this is the more complete fulfillment of this prophecy, it made mention of the daughter of Zion. And we know that when the Bible mentions the daughter of Zion, one of its fulfillment is the church of Christ in these last days. So let's read this verse. So the daughter of Zion is left as a booth in a vineyard, as a hut in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Imagine the daughter of Zion, the church of Christ in these last days, now being described like a booth in a vineyard. A booth, like a hut in a garden of cucumbers. A city that is attacked, besieged, or in ruins. Now, that can't be happening during our time because the church has already grown. It's already developed. That's why they're even celebrating right now. Next slide. They're celebrating the 9th year of dynamic leadership of the executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. What is one of the benchmark of his dynamic leadership when he took hold of the church as the executive minister? They are so proud to have established the Philippine Arena. The Philippine Arena, brothers and sisters, is the holder of the Guinness record for the biggest domed arena. I'm sorry, not doomed, domed arena. Yeah, because it's doomed already. They compared it with so many things. It's 50,000 seating capacity compared to the other big establishments that's already abroad. This one is in the Philippines. And it was made with the hard labor of the offerings of the brethren of the Church of Christ. Next slide. And it was Brother Eduardo V. Manalo who even officiated the groundbreaking, the launching of the Ciudad de Victoria. And he was so proud that this is the fruit of our labor. This is all from the brethren's offering, you know. So my question is, this question never popped up in anybody's mind even before, but the question now lingers. The question is, was the construction of the Philippine Arena actually from the offering of the brethren and the funds of the church, like what the church administration is proclaiming? Is that accurate? Is that the truth? So I'm not going to accuse anybody of lying without any proof. That's why we have to provide proof. And next slide. This is a document with the official seal of the executive minister, Iglesia ni Cristo. This is a corporate resolution. You can look at the number, resolution number 02-2014. Now, I'm just going to read some of the important parts of this document because I want you to fully understand the gravity and the effect of this document. Let's read. Whereas the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ is a religious corporation duly organized and existing by virtue of the laws of the Philippines under the administration of Executive Minister Eduardo V. Manalo, with central office at number 1 Central Avenue, New Era, Quezon City, Philippines. Whereas the Executive Minister is the chief overseer of the whole flock and the administrator of all the properties and temporalities of the church, and as such is the official representative of the corporation whose right of official representation may be delegated by him to any minister or officer or member of the church by means of written instrument pursuant to Article 6 of the amended Articles of Incorporation and Articles 2, Section 2 of the amended bylaws of the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ. Now, listen very carefully. Whereas the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ entered into a Memorandum of Agreement, the MOA, with New Era University, NEU, and Maligaya Development Corporation, MDC, whereby Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ turned over to NEU and MDC the financing, construction, and development of the Ciudad de Victoria project, now called the project. Whereas pursuant to the MOA, Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ and NEU engaged MDC to undertake the operation, management, and maintenance of the project upon completion. Whereas pursuant to the MOA, the parties acknowledge that MDC may obtain, here goes, may obtain financing to fund in participation in the completion of the project, and Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ and NEU have agreed to give the required collateral securities to secure such financing from the project lenders. Whereas MDC proposes to secure one or more loan and credit facilities from banks and financial institutions, the lenders, in the aggregate principal amount of up to 3,500,000,000 pesos, the loan facilities, for the purpose of partially financing the construction of the project, and MDC has sought the consent of Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ to be giving of certain collateral to secure the loan facilities. You know, reading this document, brothers and sisters, is very painful for me. I never thought the time would come that the church would enter into such agreement stating that it will provide collaterals to secure loans for projects that it is building. But it made mention here of an MOA with NEU, New University, and MDC, Maligay Development Corporation. We all know, for those who are not aware, you may look it up, but these are the corporate arm of the Iglesia Ni Cristo. Next slide. This two-page resolution. Next slide. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the power vested to the Executive Minister, Eduardo V. Manalo, that Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ authorize the Constitution in favor of the lenders of the required collateral securities to secure the loan facility of MDC, including a real estate mortgage over its properties acceptable to the lenders other than the assets of the project, a letter of support in favor of MDC, as well as other mortgages, pledges, assignments, performance guarantees, surety and bonds, and any other security arrangements and issuance by Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ of its acknowledgement and consent to the assignment by MDC in favor of the lenders, of its agents, of its rights, benefits, so on and so forth. Brothers and sisters, Iglesia Ni Cristo, through Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, authorized the church to enter into bank loans, debts from banks. And who was instrument to this? This second paragraph. Resolve further that Brother Glicerio B. Santos Jr., General Auditor of Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ, be authorized to make, execute, sign, and deliver for and on behalf of the Iglesia Ni Cristo Church of Christ the omnibus loan and security agreements, the security agreements, a collateral agency agreement, and all other agreements with its with the lenders or its agents, so on and so forth. It's like Brother Eduardo V. Manalo giving Brother June Santos a blanket authority for the finances of the church, being the general auditor of the church. On the right side, you will see here, make mention of MDC, Maligay Development Corporation, NEU, New University. There's also the Felix Y. Manalo. All of these corporations are owned by the church. How can we say so? Look at all the directors, corporate executive officers, auditor. It's all the Santoses. Glicerio Santos IV, that's GP, that's not Brother June. Glicerio B. Santos Jr., that's Brother June, and so on and so forth. You know, there is actually a study, a research conducted regarding Brother Glicerio B. Santos. Next slide. You'd probably be surprised exactly how powerful, influential, and vast the influence of Brother Glicerio B. Santos. You can see here in the Iglesia Ni Cristo, he is the board member and general auditor. And his son, Brother GP, board member and legal head. For the Philippine Arena, Maligay Development Corporation, GP or the fourth, incorporator and stockholder. Felix Y. Manalo Foundation. There's also the Santoses. All of them are there. And most of you don't know that it's not only the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation. There's also the Subic Bay Felix Y. Manalo Foundation. Do you know about that? And it's also the Santoses. It was kept secret to all of us. But you can do your research regarding this. Next slide. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's the FYM Manalo Medical Foundation. There's the New Era University. And here's a very interesting one. UNLAD, Unified Livelihood and Advocacy for Development International Incorporated. And who is the incorporator? Board member and president, none other than Mrs. Santos, Anita Santos, the wife of Brother June Santos. So it's a family corporation of the Santoses, not the Manalos, the Santoses. This is the first time I've heard that a wife of a minister actually holds a key position and a commercial position for the church. Iranyo Manalo Medical Center, there's also the Santoses. So let's go back to the documents. Now you know exactly how powerful Glicerio B. Santos Jr. really is and his whole family. Therefore, I bet you there is in no way that he will ever be expelled from the church. Because if they do that, then he will just get all of this entities and corporation because they are all under his name and the names of his family members. Dare ask him. You would be very disappointed. Next slide. Let's go back to the document. Okay, for those of you who would probably be asking how valid this document really is, this document was signed by the Executive Minister Eduardo V. Manalo, and it was notarized by a certain Glessy G. Esguerra Dizon. All of her information are there. You can verify it. But who exactly is this Glessy Esguerra Dizon? Next slide. I tried to find her, and I did. She actually has a Facebook account, and this is her and her family, and that's her husband. Next slide. Her husband is actually a minister of the church, Brother Dizon. That's not Brother John Dizon. He's the darker version of Brother John Dizon. Brother Dizon, we used to work together in the Central District when I was working there in the district, and he was I think that during that time, the assistant secretary, district secretary, I don't know now, probably got promoted already, but his wife is Sister Glessy Esguerra Dizon, former junior associate, Lazaro Tuazon Santos and Associates Law Office. You can check that out because that's on her Facebook account. And next slide. I also checked out that account, and the Lazaro Tuazon Santos and Associate Law Offices didn't have any information on their Facebook page, but you can, I would encourage you to Google it, because I tried Googling exactly Lazaro Tuazon Santos Associates and Law Offices, and I found a very interesting document. I didn't have time to put it here because that would prolong our presentation, but I encourage you, please search that, and you will find a very interesting document bearing that name, bearing the name of Wilfredo Santos, and a certain case with a certain Brother Jesse Palabay. Very interesting. Anyway, so let's go back. Next slide. So meaning it was all valid. If you know Sister Glessy Dizon, approach her, ask her if it's true. I hope she will tell the truth. So I wanted to verify those information, having collaterals, entering into an omnibus agreement, entering into bank loans. Is that really true? I was able to get my hands on this document. It's an official document from AUB, the Asian United Bank, and this was a letter to Metropolitan Bank and Trust Company. It basically states here that this is to certify that Maligaya Development Corporation has paid the documentary stamps in relation to its loan transaction with Asia United Bank as summarized below. So they made a summary of the loans that Maligaya Development Corporation entered with Asia United Bank. So these are the summary. So, probably a lot of you knows somebody who's an accountant, you can show them this document. It has all the information you need, the facility, whether it's a 5-year term or whether it's a bridge loan. You also have the PN number, you have the loan number, the date of booking, the maturity date, and even the PN amount, the DST, and the DST amount due. The person who wrote this and submitted it to Metropolitan Bank and Trust Company is a certain Zenaida Librea. Zenaida Librea is a first vice president of, and her position is Commercial Loans Operations for AUB. So I wanted to find out who she is. Maybe this is also fake, I don't know. I wanted to be sure. I wanted to verify the information if this really exists. So I tried to find her, and I did. Next slide. This is Zenaida Librea. If you want to inquire, you can add her as a friend and you can ask questions if you wanted to. And I wanted to know if that is an official in AUB. So I looked it up. Next slide. Did you know that AUB just recently celebrated its 20th year anniversary? They have this annual report 2017, and it's all on the internet. It's on their website. You can look it up. And there is this Zenaida Librea. She is the first vice president. Next slide. I also looked up her position, and it's also on their website. She is the Commercial Loans Operation. So it's really valid. Let's go back to the document, verifying that it's true, that it's an actual real person. Now let's verify if the contents of that document is actually true and valid. Next slide. So going back, let's just pick one part. On the last row, remember, you'll be able to access this document on our website, so no need to worry. Let's look at this 5-year term. The PN number is 67099. There's the loan number, the date of booking, and the maturity date. I want you to take note of this date. It's February 28, 2019. It's very near, okay? The PN amount, oh my gosh, 2 billion pesos. And the documentary stamp tax is 10 million pesos. No, I'm not an accountant. I don't know much about these things. So I tried to look it up. Next slide. I wanted to know what this documentary stamp tax is, because in my mind, when you say stamp, I'm just thinking, stamp that you put on a mail when you send the mails out. I learned that documentary stamp taxes are payable on documents or instruments that are as follows. These are the examples. And in number 6, one of the instrument is a debt instrument. The debt instrument, if you would to look the definition on the text below, one of them is loan agreements. So this is the tax that is put on a loan agreement as a debt instrument. So how do you compute this documentary stamp tax? It says here, you have to pay 1 peso for every 200 pesos, or a fraction of the issue price. So if we were to go back, look at the document, it says here that it's 2 billion pesos. So if it's 2 billion pesos divided by 200, you will get 10 million. 10 million pesos. That's just for the stamp. That's why there are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 loans, different loans from AUB, just one bank alone. And the total documentary stamp that the MDC had to pay was around 23 million. 23 million. So that is why we now understand why the church is so desperate to have special offerings, to ask, to even have special worship service or special gathering wherein they have to offer still. Just offer and offer, because they need to pay all of this interest, all of this debts. Next slide. So again, if you have this bank loans, one of the things that you have to provide the bank is what we call the promissory note. And the signatory for this promissory note, do you remember when you had to make a promissory note and you were so embarrassed to make a promissory note because it simply means that you are probably borrowing money, or you can't pay something, or you have a debt, or you are being they're asking the payment from you and you don't have any payment, so you have to make a promissory note. You know how embarrassing that is? And this time, the church is making a promissory note. And this promissory note has a PN number of 066545 for 2 billion pesos for its loan. Who was the signatory? Glicerio Santos IV for the Maligaya Development Bank. That's just one promissory note. How many promissory notes they have to give for AUB? Next slide. So there's another one, 064849 at 6% per annum. That's for 1.137 billion pesos. There's another one, PN 066545, 750 million at 6% per annum. Next slide. There's also PN 066540, 5.3 per annum, 2 billion pesos again. And another one, 750 million. Next slide. And another one for 612,500,000. How many promissory notes just for one bank for all of those bank loans? Now, you probably, some of you watching us right now works in a bank. You have access to the terminal of the banks. You can access these documents. You can have these documents based on the information that I have provided already. Next slide. Because we wanted to be sure that it was authentic. So we asked somebody works in a bank, and they were able to provide this information. It's true. This was September 8, 2015. And the note there was for 2 billion, and the interest at the bottom, you can see 20 million just for interest. That was in 2015. Next slide. We checked again. The following year, 2016, it's still 2 billion, and this time the balance was 1.9 billion. Wow, they were able to pay somehow. And then the interest amount was amounting to 19.4 million. Imagine the amount of money that the church is now neck deep with debts. Next slide. When I read this, you heard that the church is authorizing to be able to give collaterals to secure the loan facility. What are those collaterals? Next slide. These were the collaterals that we were able to get our hands on. These were the properties of the church that were either for sale or are being mortgaged because they needed to pay the interest. So these are either the collaterals, and most of them were already sold. Next slide. So we have all of these documents, and we will provide you with all of these documents. Last night I was talking with a brethren, and he told me that his father was convincing him to go back to the church. And one of the reasoning is that because there's no proof that the church has loans in the bank, there's no proof that we have debts. And then he said that, no, there's proof. Why don't you want to believe the proof? No, there's no proof. Those are fake. Those are doctored documents. That's why we're providing you with these documents. You have the ability to verify these documents. You can even go to central office and say, are these documents true or valid? You know, you probably will not be able to come out alive, but you know, at least you tried. So with this presentation of proof, on the context of knowing if under the leadership of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, is the church really heading to the right direction? Is it really a progression from how it was during the time of Brother Ranyo G. Manalo? Because just for these bank loans, just for these properties and mortgages, I don't think Brother Eduardo V. Manalo passed. Next slide. Because, you know, as you remember, Brother Ranyo G. Manalo said, kung makakita kayo ng kahit isang titulo, ilan yung pinakita namin? Iilan pa lang yun. Iilan pa lang. Pero sabi ng KRD, isa man, kahit isang titulo ng pagkakasanla, maghiwa-hiwalay na tayo. I dare Brother Michael, Brother Bob, Brother Zane, Brother Joe, Brother Bobby, Brother Eduardo. If you can say this with all conviction and resolve during a worship service or during a live worship service or telecast, say it to the whole world, say it to the whole church, to all the brethren. If we can see even one document has a stamp of being mortgaged or the proof of the church being into loans, then let's all part ways. Can you say that? Can you say that with all confidence to the church? I don't think so. So, Brother Mike, I know you'll be watching this. I know you'll be skipping over this part because you probably end up attacking me personally or probably mocking me in different ways. All of those things you will do except answer the questions and assignments from Brother John and except answering the issues regarding bank loans. I dare you, Brother Mike. Hello, Brother Mike. Brother Joe, you're so funny. Brother Bobby, all of you guys, the whole gang, I'm challenging you. Just mention the bank loans in your TV show. Discuss it. Provide proof. Probably have an expert who's a head deacon somewhere who would probably say exactly what you wanted to say, and then discuss the bank loans so that finally in the minds of the brethren, there would be no question whatsoever whether the bank loans are true or not. I hope to see Sister Glessy there too. Okay? So remember all of these things they did, putting the whole church under debt because of this. Next slide. Because they wanted this. They wanted the image of Baal to give worship to him. Oh my God. I mean, I could remember when, during the time of Brother Ranyo G. Manalo, Brother Bienvenido Santiago was so strict. He was so stringent. I was working with Net25 during that time. We were doing designs, whether for a TV show or for anything for the church, digital and marketing. So every time we would have a concept, a design, a logo, everything, it would have to go through Brother Bienvenido Santiago. And even if it would have any inkling that it would be deviating from the doctrines or may have an insinuation of not being in accordance with the teachings of God, it will not be approved. He was so strict because he knows KRD was so strict, stricter than him. So I could just imagine how this design could even pass their inspection. That's how we know that the Holy Spirit is no longer with them. Because if they find this beautiful, that's very questionable for them. Anyway, they were able to secure bank loans for this all throughout those years when the church had so many problems with so many chapels in different parts of the world. Next slide. We had chapels that were deteriorating. Next slide. We had chapels when everything was being built. This chapel was at this state. You know, the project of Brother Ranyo G. Manalo before was to make sure as we reach Centennial, there would be no church in this kind of condition. Dilapidated church or church that are not built with either concrete or cement. Look at this. These are all the situation and condition of the different chapels all over the Philippines. And they could have used even part of the money to repair these chapels, this congregation. And there are even chapels, brothers and sisters, even here in Canada, that they have been offering special offerings to be able to buy a property to have their chapels. But until now, none. They're still renting. And they would be able to have chapels like this in the Philippines called capellitas. Not even at par with the chapels during the time of Brother Ranyo G. Manalo. Next slide. And there are chapels that they wanted to better themselves, but they don't have the funds. to repair, buy materials. That is why now the brethren, you donate materials, you donate cash, and you offer special offering and special offering, and then you make a vote to the minister also. It's all in the protocol now. Would we be surprised if this is the condition of the church today under the leadership of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo? If these simple chapels cannot be repaired, much more the temple itself. Have you seen the temple recently? We were taking pictures of the temple regularly to be able to compare how it is going. So next slide. If you zoom in, the chapel, the temple is still have these scaffoldings. Even Brother, what's his name? Brother Marlex Cantor. He had a picture with his family. I saw it in one of his posts. Picture of his family. I think it was behind the tabernacle, if not the temple. And he would blur in his photo the scaffoldings because he didn't want to expose the truth that until now there are scaffoldings there and they haven't repaired the temple. But if all the chapels are in ruins, dilapidated, deteriorating, the temple is in ruin, there is an edifice somewhere in the Philippines that will never, ever have any defects. You want to know what that is? Next slide. The EVM mansion. This is the top view of the EVM mansion. I want you to be able to scale this picture. That's the EVM mansion and its compound. And then compare it to a bit lower. There's the central office. To the right, there's the New Era Evangelical School for the Ministers. And on the right side, there's the temple. If you compare each of those edifices, the EVM mansion is bigger than them. Bigger. Next slide. This is the EVM mansion. It has an Olympic-sized pool. I would think that if Brother Eduardo V. Manalo would swim at least once a day, or Brother Angelo, who knows? It would be good for them, but that's the mansion. I don't know if they just like to have a swimming pool there, considering that they're out of the country like almost all the time. So who's swimming there? Next slide. That's the mansion of EVM, and contrast to it, divided by a gigantic wall, is the residence of Brother Aranyo G. Manalo. I don't think you will even recognize it. Why? Because it's completely destroyed. The ancestral house of Brother Aranyo G. Manalo, where Brother Eduardo V. Manalo grew up, is now destroyed. I will tell you the reason why they destroy it in our next episode. Next slide. This is the mansion. I want you to look at this because the next slide will surprise you. This is already a humongous structure, a compound. I don't know why it has to be so big, but it's probably their preference. Next slide. But now they're even building another structure to make it bigger. It wouldn't even matter. These things wouldn't even cross our minds if the state of the church is not the way it is now. That there's no chapels that needs repair, that the temple is not in ruins. So what does the Bible say if the chapels and the houses of worship are in ruins and this is a mansion for the executive minister? Next slide. In Haggai 1:4-6, it says, "Why are you living in luxurious houses while my house lies in ruins? This is what the Lord of Heaven's army says. Look at what's happening to you. You have planted much, but harvest little. You eat, but you are not satisfied. You drink, but are still thirsty. You put on clothes, but cannot keep warm. Your wages disappear as though you were putting them in pockets filled with holes." That's why even though the brethren are still offering and offering, they would, even to the point of gunpoint, just to offer, just to be able to get money, still, it will not be enough because the interest will just keep on going and going until it reaches its maturity, and all of those properties will be taken away. Now, this is what the Bible says. Next slide. If we were to read in 1:9, it says, "You hope for much, but get so little. And when you bring it home, I blow it away. It doesn't last at all. Why? Because my temple lies in ruins and you don't care. Your only concern is your own fine homes." Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, hello. This is a wake-up call for you. This pertains to the leaders of God's nation. Because definitely it's no longer God's nation. Because you yourself, according to the verse, you don't care. Because if you really care, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, you wouldn't be flying in an Airbus. You wouldn't be building your mansion. You'd probably go into those chapels and local congregations wherein they don't even have a chapel, and probably be able to give them to establish their own or repair those that are dilapidated. But the Bible is so accurate that you don't care, and your only concern is your own fine home. Now, brothers and sisters, what else is the benchmark of the 9 years of dynamic leadership of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo? Next slide. What else is exemplified by the dynamic years of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo's generation? What do you think? A generation of evildoers. Am I going to get sued again for libel for this? Because a generation of evildoers, I don't know if that's even accurate. So we better have proof. If we're going to say it's a generation of evildoers, are there any proof of sort? Next slide. This was even in the news. The builder of INC Colossal Philippine Arena faces smuggling case. Smuggling. This is not, you're just smuggling a piece of wood into the country, or, who is the builder of the INC Colossal Philippine Arena? Next slide. This is the owner, Jose Acuzar, and his affinity with Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Did you know that I don't know the term, because it's in Tagalog, it's magkumpadre. They're both godparents to a certain son of this tycoon or whoever. And do you remember when it was strictly prohibited for the INC members to be a godfather of any, like say, baptism or even a wedding of the non-INC members? But here we have Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, a godfather of a non-member, and his co-godfather, I don't know what you, god brothers or whatever, they're together. And he's the builder of the Philippine Arena. And he has a smuggling case. Must be a fluke. Must be, one of those coincidences. So next slide. Is it just a coincidence? Another criminal. The Iglesia ni Cristo harboring a Korean criminal. Obstruction of justice. You can research all of this. It's all over the internet. It has been reported in the news. This is Ja-Hun Koo, one of the contractors involved in the construction of the Iglesia ni Cristo's INC Philippine Arena. Probably he just, embezzled a couple of $1,000s. But how much? Wanted for stealing $200 million in his company in Korea. So that's why he was arrested by the Bureau of Immigration and was supposed to be deported to Korea. But somebody pulled the strings on Malacanang. That's why this Executive Secretary Paquito Ochoa temporarily gave him freedom, and he was endorsed to the church to Brother Glicerio B. Santos. And up to this moment, he has not been seen. He escaped prosecution. So it is actually harboring a criminal. Next slide. The church is involved in another case. This is an extortion case by none other than Chris Brown. You know, if you look at the document on the side, this is a case that is again versus Jose Victor Los Baños Gionco, an individual, Iglesia ni Cristo, Church of Christ. And at the bottom, Glicerio P. Santos. So they have not only entered into bank loans and debt, they've also entered into international lawsuits. Now, who's dragging the name of the church to the mud? Isn't it them? Next slide. So you can check all of the information here. You can actually get a copy of the case documents. You just have to get the case number, go to the website, enter it, and then you'll be able to access all of those files. Now, the leaders have this mentality already. They're associated and have affinity with criminals and crooks. And so what happens if you have that mentality on the top level? It trickles down to the brethren, to the members. What is the proof of this? Next slide. Now, the news that's being reported are all littered with news about SCAN members involved in kidnapping, killings, murders. These are just examples. Next slide. Even a priest was killed by an INC member. And he was even in the link diagram. So if you can't, feel safe and run to the priest of another religion, probably run to the authorities. Next slide. Even a mayor who's already an authority was killed by a SCAN member. And this is their getaway car with branding the sticker of the Iglesia ni Cristo. And then they even entered, where? The chapel. I mean, the compound of the church. And it was caught on CCTV. They tried to hide it, but it was caught on CCTV. If it wasn't caught on CCTV, they're probably long gone by now. You wouldn't even see them. Next slide. This recently happened. A Canadian man murdered in the Philippines and his wife injured in the attack. That's a Canadian. So that's why you would hear news on social media, on TV, of the church or the Iglesia ni Cristo giving donations and other support to different agencies, even refugees in Toronto. Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, you're always welcome here in Canada, especially in Vancouver. I heard you're giving away money to refugees. I'm a refugee. Brother Rovic's a refugee. But you don't have to give us money anymore. I think you need it more. But anyway, so these are the things that we can see that's happening to the church. So if we are to think about the progress of the church, it's different. A different generation now. Next slide. What does the Bible say about that? Remember the prophecy in Isaiah 1:4? Now, if we read that verse, O sinful nation, people laden with iniquity, generation of evildoers, corrupt sons, they have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They have turned back. It's a generation of evildoers. This is the fulfillment, a more complete fulfillment of the prophecy of the small remnant, because it will come a time, there will come a time that the daughter of Zion will be left like a booth in a vineyard, a besieged city, because of the generation of evildoers. Is it because of the members? Is it their fault because they have gone astray? Next slide. Isaiah 1:23, your leaders are rebels, the companions of thieves. All of them love bribes and demand payoffs, but they refuse to defend the cause of orphans or fight for the rights of widows. Now let's see, is this true today? Is it? Is it merely a coincidence? Or is it the more complete fulfillment of this prophecy? We know that the leaders were rebels. We know that they are a companion of thieves. But what about this? It says they refuse to defend the cause of orphans or fight for the rights of widows. Is there a widow or an orphan or fatherless that had a plight and they did not fight for its cause. Next slide. The widow was none other than Sister Tenny, the wife of Brother Aranyo G. Manalo, who asked for help. And the fatherless, Brother Angel Manalo, they both asked for help because their lives were in danger. They only wanted to talk, speak with Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, who has not spoken to them for many years, just to speak to their own brother and to her own son. But no, instead of having the humility of a son to love his father and mother, to love his brother, what did Brother Eduardo V. Manalo do? This. He ordered that their houses be surrounded, and they built all of these scaffoldings. Next slide. Can you imagine that? Those are INC workers putting scaffoldings around the houses of the family of Brother Aranyo G. Manalo. And they would put galvanized metal sheets to cover them up. Next slide. Not only that, they completely covered it, restricting airflow, restricting, it will be so hot, especially when the sun is up, and they even put barbed wires over there. It became a concentration camp for them. They were prisoners in their own houses. Next slide. Those are not mere walls that they put up. They were higher than the roofs themselves. I mean, what kind of mind would think of this? You know, instead of helping, instead of reaching out, instead of talking to them, you surround them. And what else? Next slide. You surround them with armed men. You have made their life miserable inside. They messed up with the sewage. Next slide. They pumped sewage inside. So it made everybody sick, especially the children there. There were people who tried to help them, bring food and water to them. But what did they do? They blocked them. Those who were helping, they would get their names, they would take pictures and videos of them, and they would be harassed, followed wherever they go. Eventually, they would be tired from all of the running and they would get harassed. There were people who would bring food, but then they would be blocked. The food were not allowed to go inside. And if they do allow it, what kind of condition would it be? They would mess it up. Not fit for consumption. Would you eat something like this? But they did that. They put their condition so inhumane that you wouldn't even think that this is a religion that's doing this to them. Their own flesh and blood. People who call themselves Christians think that they will be saved, and they're doing this to innocent lives. And those people who try to help them, not only were they harassed, they were persecuted, they were threatened. One of them, they went to her house and started shooting at her house with her and her children inside. What kind of a criminal mind would have a mentality like this? They did not go as far as threatening or intimidating people who helped the family of Brother Aranyo G. Manalo. There were people who perished because of this cause. There are people who died. They were abducted, they were killed. Next slide. I'm sorry for those who are seeing these photos and it's very disturbing, but this is the reality of what they have done. And those people who tried to expose them, what did they do to us? Next slide. They persecute us, they prosecute us. They send us to jail so that we will be silent. Now, brothers and sisters, let's see if the church today is exactly how we envision the church will be. Next slide. Why is all of these things happening? So why is the church now under the current administration, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, riddled with so many anomalies and failures, even though they desperately try to cover it up with superficial and vain successes? I want to ask that to Brother Mike. Brother Mike Sandoval, Why? Why is this very superficial? Oh, I was thinking of Brother Manos. Sorry, superficial. Superficial, I mean, Brother Mike, why? Brother Michael, I hope you'll be able to answer this. Because the reason why all of these things are happening, because EVM, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, did not follow nor respect Brother Aranio G. Manalo's instruction and advice. What is the proof? Next slide. Going back to the timeline of the church, 1914, 1963, 2009, present. My question is, what happened during the time between 1963 and 2009? Now, this is the history that all of us should know. Next slide. In 1994, there was a nomination and election of Deputy Executive Minister and successor to the Executive Minister. That was May 6, 1994. I want you to remember that, brothers and sisters. I was actually hoping that when Brother Michael posted a teaser saying that they will prove the authenticity and legality and validity of Brother Eduardo P. Manalo, I was expecting that they would be, bombarding us with so many documents, probably having a lawyer who's credible enough to speak in behalf of a corporation, so probably a representative from the Securities and Exchange Commission, those kind of things. I was expecting so much from them. Instead, what did they do? Next slide. They showed a very moving video of an excerpt of the video that they broadcasted before, enumerating the reasons why Brother Eduardo V. Manalo is the rightful successor of Brother Aranio G. Manalo as the executive minister. Now, I want you, brothers and sisters, I want you to look at this first. I want this image to linger in your mind. Okay, did it linger? Did it actually linger in your minds? Now, the reason why I wanted to show this to you, brothers and sisters, is because they put up so much effort to put this out there, to be able to show us, the speech of Brother Arnel Tumanan, Benvenido Santiago, Catalino, Castillo Jr., Dano Rosa, all of them were saying how Brother Eduardo V. Manalo took an oath as the Deputy Executive Minister and the successor of Brother Aranio G. Manalo. Now, the reason why I find this very amusing is because we did not have any contention with that. We did not even go against that. We totally accept that Brother Eduardo V. Manalo swore an oath as the Deputy Executive Minister and as the successor of Brother Aranio G. Manalo. Now, this is what they have shown us. They did not even provide any documents or legal proof, but we will provide it for you. Next slide. This is the affidavit of accession to office. You remember this from the previous Bible study. Again, the documents are all provided in the link below. You can see them. This is the affidavit of the accession to office. And I want you to focus on number 3. In number 3, it says here, on May 6th of May, 1994, at a meeting of the Church Council and during the lifetime of then Executive Minister Aranio G. Manalo, I was nominated and unanimously elected to the office of Deputy Executive Minister and successor to the Executive Minister, which is embodied in the minutes of the special meeting of the Church Council. Do we have any problem with that? Do we go against it? No, absolutely not. They even provided annexes A to 5, B to 1. Now, next slide. And it says here that it was where there's the signature of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo and Restituto Lazaro. Now, meaning, brothers and sisters, this is basically saying that Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, who's the Deputy Executive Minister, is automatically ascending or going to the position of being the Executive Minister, meaning it is an automatic ascension. Okay, this was received by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Next slide. This is the certificate of filing of letter of appointment known Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, Executive Minister of the Iglesia ni Cristo. Again, next slide. I want to reiterate this. May 6, 1994, EVM was nominated as Deputy Executive Minister and successor to the Executive Minister, Annex A and Annex B. Next slide. This is Annex A. This is Annex A. The minutes of the special meeting of the Church Council. We have another episode just for this because we want to educate all of the brethren regarding the events that transpired during the minutes of the special meeting. Because, what Brother Michael and the rest of the gang presented was just, the emotional plea for everybody to embrace Brother Eduardo V. Manalo as the Executive Minister. They did not provide any of this stuff. But we will provide them to you. And we will explain each of the things that transpired during this meeting. So this is Annex A. You don't have to worry about this. You can have access to this. Next slide. This is Annex A2. Now, for those who are not lawyers, probably you're not familiar with the lingo or the way this is being presented. We're trying to speak to the masses right now, meaning most of the things that we're saying are in layman's terms. You have the ability to access these files and to be able to examine them, verify them, and discern them if they are truthful or not. Next slide. Okay, so that's the whole context of the special meeting. Basically, what it states, brothers and sisters, is that next slide. It's that the body then voted through raising of the hands on the issue, the result of which was a unanimous vote of affirmation for the election, designation of Minister Eduardo V. Manalo as Deputy Executive Minister. So that's one very important thing to note here. This document simply states that Brother Eduardo V. Manalo was nominated and he was elected as the Deputy Executive Minister. Next slide. Another point why this is very important. Eduardo V. Manalo, a successor to the Executive Minister. By the unanimous vote of all the members of the Church Council, Eduardo V. Manalo was elected as successor of the Executive Minister, presiding elder. So these are the two things that you should remember. This document represents the reality that Brother Eduardo V. Manalo was voted, the creation of the position Deputy Executive Minister, and the first Deputy Executive Minister was elected in the person of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. After which, they also voted for somebody to be the successor of Brother Eranio G. Manalo should he pass away. And this was the instruction of Brother Eranio G. Manalo that was communicated through Brother Catalino Castillo Jr. So unanimously voted as the successor of the Executive Minister. Do we negate that? Absolutely not. We have no problem with that. We accept it and it is true. Next slide. In this slide, again, you will see that these are all the legal documents that's necessary for somebody to be the Deputy Executive Minister and to be the successor of Brother Eranio G. Manalo. Next slide. Now, this is very important. Upon realizing the existence of this document, the minutes of the special meeting, the creation of the Deputy Executive Minister position, thus having the first Deputy Executive Minister and having a successor, therefore, it will be legally valid that Eduardo V. Manalo, who was nominated to be the Deputy Executive Minister and successor of the Executive Minister, to eventually become the legal Executive Minister. If there's an if, it's not just the however, Brother Embry, there's an if. If what? Next slide. If the Articles of Incorporation of the Iglesia ni Cristo was not amended. If it was not amended, then from 1994 all throughout up to the present, it will hold water. It will be the foundation of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo being the rightful and legal executive minister. But the problem is, it was amended. Next slide. So what really happened before the death of Brother Eranio G. Manalo? That the current church administration of Eduardo V. Manalo is desperately trying to hide or cover up from the brethren. Can you imagine the presentation that Brother Michael Sandoval presented on their show? They just showed an excerpt of a video praising Eduardo V. Manalo and what happened during 1994 when he was elected as the Deputy Executive Minister and successor. And that's it. They stopped there. They did not go into this issue. The validity of and the authenticity of the position of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo as the Executive Minister. Why? What really happened? Because they're trying to prevent the people from knowing what really happened, and we're trying to educate the people regarding what really transpired after the death of Brother Eranio G. Manalo. Next slide. Brother Eranio G. Manalo amended the Articles of Incorporation. When? April 23rd, 2008. Again, Brother Embry, Brother Michael, Brother Bob, Brother Bobby, Brother Joe, Brother Brother Zane. 1994, it was valid that Brother Eduardo V. Manalo was the rightful Deputy Executive Minister and successor of Brother Eranio G. Manalo. No question about it. No question. But that was 1994. Something happened that in April 23rd, 2008, before the death of Brother Eranio G. Manalo, he created an amendment of the Articles of Incorporation. This, Brother Michael, is exactly what you're not saying or discussing. You have discussed so many things. You have degraded us in so many ways, me, Brother John, and all others, but you're trying to evade this reality, this fact. Brother Eranio G. Manalo amended the Articles of Incorporation in April 23rd, 2008. Now let's go with the timeline so it will be visually represented in our minds and for us to understand. Next slide. So again, 1963, KRD, 1994 was the oath taking, and then 2007, there was an amendment on the bylaws. You know, there's a difference between the bylaws and the Articles of Incorporation. For discussion's sake, let's say the amended bylaws, because corporation sole does not require a bylaw. But let's say that this bylaw is for internal usage only, so that we'll have the semblance of an organization having bylaws. Because the church is very organized, especially with all of the documentations that we need. So let's say we have this document, the bylaws of the church. In 2007, it was amended. Next slide. What is this amendment? Iglesia ni Cristo, Church of Christ amended bylaws. When? April 25, 2007. What is one very important amendment that is stipulated in this document? Next slide. I want you to focus on section 3. Deputy Executive Minister or Deputy Presiding Elder. The Deputy Executive Minister or Deputy Presiding Elder shall serve as the right hand of the fellowship and member of the Church Council. He shall represent the Executive Minister, Presiding Elder in such occasions and in such functions in which the presence of the Executive Minister, Presiding Elder is deemed necessary by the former, and when the Executive Minister, Presiding Elder shall delegate unto him, and in such event, his action shall be accorded full faith and credence for all intents and purposes for which the authority was granted. There are others who may not be familiar with the legal parlance that are being used, but for common sense sake and for layman's terms sake, you may read this over and over again, and you will not find any part of this statement which says that the Deputy Executive Minister shall automatically replace the Executive Minister in his passing. Did you find anything there? There's none. That's one point. Now, how about the vacancy? Because there's a vacancy. Probably it will mention there in the vacancy that there is an automatic accession of the Deputy Executive Minister to the position of Executive Minister. Next slide. Section 4, it says here, vacancy. In case of vacancy in the office of the Executive Minister or Presiding Elder, the Church Council shall convene and determine by election who shall be the successor. However, the incumbent Executive Minister or Presiding Elder may convene the Church Council for the purpose of electing or choosing who shall be his successor. The vacancy in the office of the Deputy Executive Minister shall be filled by the recommendation from the majority of the Church Council, and such recommendation shall be approved by the Executive Minister, Presiding Elder. Now, there are some things that is mentioned here in Section 4, one of which, if there is a vacancy in the office of the Deputy Executive Minister, then the Council would give their recommendation. The question is, will they have to vote? No. They just have to have the recommendation from the majority of the Church Council. What happens next? Are the Church Council the ones to approve it, to render decision for it? No, it's still the Executive Minister. That's one point another. Again, but this is the most important part. In Section 4, in vacancy, it says here, in case of a vacancy in the office of the Executive Minister or Presiding Elder, the Church Council shall what? Convene and determine by election who shall be the successor. Remember, brothers and sisters, this is an amendment after the 1994 document, special meeting, that says that Eduardo V. Manalo is the successor of Brother Aranio G. Manalo. Meaning, during that time, without this amendment, without this document, if ever there is a vacancy in the position of Executive Minister, then Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, being the successor, will be the automatic Executive Minister after the death of the Executive Minister. But because that there is an amendment dated 2007, it is no longer the case. There should be, the council should convene and determine by election who shall be the successor. I hope that's very clear, because I think that's already common sense. That's so easy to understand. Next slide. So again, other than the 2007, there is a 2008, because what was amended in 2007 was the bylaws of the church. In 2008, what was amended? The Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ Articles of Incorporation. Next slide. it was amended. This is the amended Articles of Incorporation of the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ. Brother Michael, I hope you would have the guts to discuss this. You know, you talk with the gang. I hope you come up with an episode just for this document that states that the Articles of Incorporation was amended in 2008, April 23rd. Next slide. An important part of this document, again, if you look here in 8, it says here that in case of vacancy in the office of the executive minister or presiding elder, the church council shall convene and determine by election who shall be the successor. However, the incumbent executive minister or presiding elder may convene the church council for the purpose of electing or choosing who shall be his successor. The vacancy in the office of the deputy executive minister shall be filled by a recommendation from the majority of the church council, and such recommendation shall be approved by the executive minister, presiding elder. What can we notice about this amendment? It is the same amendment as the 2007 amended bylaws. But this time, brothers and sisters, this is the Articles of Incorporation. Do you remember what kind of corporation the church is? Do you? It is a corporation sole. Again, if it's a corporation sole, how many signatures is required for it to be valid to represent the whole corporation, meaning corporation sole? Only one. Next slide. That is why the signatory of this amended Articles of Incorporation was Brother Eranio G. Manalo, notarized by Brother Restituto Lazaro. When? April 23rd, 2008. Was it received by the Securities and Exchange Commission? Next slide. This is the receipt. Certificate of filing of the amended Articles of Incorporation. Also on the same date, April 23rd, 2008. So let's have a summary of that. Next slide. May 6, 1994, creation, nomination, and election of Deputy Executive Minister and successor of the Executive Minister, meaning automatic succession. April 25, 2007, the INC bylaws was amended. In case of vacancy of the position, it's no longer automatic succession. What will happen if there's a vacancy of the position of executive minister? The council will convene and they will have to elect a successor. Next slide. April 23rd, 2008, the Articles of Incorporation was amended, and in case of vacancy, again, the council should convene and they will have to elect a successor. Again, there is no automatic succession. The automatic succession of the 1994 special meeting is no longer valid. Who signed this document? The one authorized as the corporation sole, Brother Eranio G. Manalo, the executive minister. Now, I don't know how Brother Michael, Brother Bob, and Brother Bobby, and Brother Zane, and Brother whoever, Joe, I don't know what they're going to do to explain this. Next slide. Because Brother Eranio G. Manalo trusted them, the church council. He trusted these ministers. What happened to them? Next slide. What happened to all those ministers who knew about this truth and allowed themselves to be used to cover it up with a lie? What happened? They became conspirators. Conspirator ministers. Next slide. Who are these people? These are these people. They were there. Next slide. They were there. Who were the proponents of this conspiracy to betray the instruction of Brother Eranio G. Manalo? Next slide. This conspirator. Next slide. This guy. Next slide. This guy. Who else? This guy. Were they the only ones guilty of betraying the trust of the executive minister? Next slide. These are all the signatories of those amendments. Look at the names. Probably you know most of them. Next slide. These are the district ministers and officers of the church who signed their names. Next slide. These are all conspirator ministers. They knew the truth, but they did nothing. Next slide. What happened to them? They knew the truth, remember that. But they did nothing. Next slide. So here's my challenge. My challenge is provide proof that there indeed was an election for the successor after the death of Brother Aranio G. Manalo. That happened after the 2008 amended Articles of Incorporation that was signed and submitted to the Securities and Exchange Commission by the corporation soul himself of the INC, Brother Aranio G. Manalo. So don't confuse yourself, Brother Catalino Castillo, Brother Michael, don't confuse yourself. What we are asking in this challenge is for you to provide proof, not the video that you just showed in your television program. The proof, documents, videos stating that there was an election after this amendment. Because after this amendment, the instruction was, if there is a vacancy, if Brother Aranio G. Manalo died, because during that time he was still alive when he submitted this amendment. If he should pass, then after that, there should be an election by the church council. Now, did you do that? Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, was there ever an election after 2008? You can answer that. Were you elected? Was there a were the council convened just for that election? Because I know you will not be able to provide that. Even though, everywhere you go in Central, there's a CCTV. Probably provide a CCTV footage or a video of that election after 2008. If not, next slide. This is the result of that. The affidavit of accession to office, the automatic accession, it's null and void. Next slide. The new executive minister, null and void. I hope we understand this completely, brothers and sisters. Next slide. Because always remember, if there was no amendment of the 1994 special meeting, then the instruction would have carried Brother Eduardo V. Manalo up to 2009 to be the rightful executive minister next to Brother Aranio. It would have been automatic, but it was amended, it was stopped, it was revised, it was taken out. Do you understand us? Brother Eduardo, you're not supposed to be the automatic executive minister. There should have been an election after 2008. Who made that instruction? Your own father. That Brother Arnel Tumanan said you loved and respected and obeyed with all your heart. It turned out that's not true. Because if you follow that, then this would not be the condition of the church right now. Now, is this something that the church has something to say about? There are so many people who knows about this, especially the ministers, the district ministers, people who are there in the central office. We are all aware of this. Yet, why is everybody silent about it? Next slide. The Bible says in Jeremiah 5:29 up to 31, but I, the Lord, will punish them for these things. I will take revenge on this nation. A terrible and shocking thing has happened in the land. Prophets speak nothing but lies. Priests rule as the prophets command. And my people offer no objections. But what will they do when it all comes to an end? What happens when there's not even one who would object? When he knows that something wrong is happening? Our Lord God will punish them for these things. Next slide. The prophets give false prophecies, and the priests rule with an iron hand. Worse yet, my people like it that way. But what will you do when the end comes? This is another translation. But the problem is the people, either they're afraid, or they're really gullible, or they have already embraced the lie and accepted it as the truth. None of them offer on any objection. And the worst part, they even liked it that way. That's the worst part. Now here's a question. The question is, next slide. Since they cannot prove that there was an election after the 2008 amended Articles of Incorporation, what is the only solution for Eduardo V. Manalo and all of those involved in this cover-up, in this conspiracy to deceive the brethren that the brother Eduardo V. Manalo is the rightful executive minister due to the automatic succession that he has provided the church? Their only recourse, their only solution, next slide, is deception. Let's go through this because we have discussed this already. Next slide. You know that deception is a statement or action that hides. It hides the truth. But what if, next slide. And it's gone. So what if, deception doesn't work anymore? What if their lies is not working? That they're trying their best so that people would believe them, but it's not working, like our PowerPoint presentation right now. Maybe I have overpassed my limit already, that's why. Please forgive me, brothers and sisters. I know this has been a long lesson, but we have poured so much time into verifying a lot of these facts just to be able to provide you with accurate information. So are we still able to? What's interesting, brothers and sisters, this morning I got a message from a brethren who's still in the institution. And that brethren is actually an indoctrinee. He's about to be baptized pretty soon. And his message to me, he was saying that because he's an indoctrinee, he's trying to weigh things. He's trying to discern what's right and what's not correct. So he's watching both sides, the defenders and also the institution, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, and all of the people behind him and what they're saying. So he's trying to weigh things. And he watched the episode 16 of Brother Michael Sandoval. And this was his comment. He was saying, I can't believe that these ministers are actually in this program. And that's the way they talk as ministers. Because they were supposed to encourage people to talk with all humility and to be pious and to be reverent. But then what he saw is a bunch of ministers playing as bullies against Brother John, myself, and others, and especially an elder minister who just recently passed away. And the funny part is, the phony part, according to this brother, is that after attacking these ministers and saying all of those things, making a mockery out of them, they suddenly shifted gears and then presented a video of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo being the rightful executive minister after Brother Eranio G. Manalo. I think we're having some technical problems with let's see if we can still proceed. So that was actually the message of that brethren. So I don't know if he will push through with his Bible study. So again, the question is, what if these measures fail to convince the people to believe the lie as truth? Next slide. They would try to rewrite history to deceive the gullible and the fearful. They tried deception, they tried lying, but there would be people who would believe them and there would be a lot who wouldn't. So the best thing that they can do is to go back and rewrite history and then publish it as if it was the truth. Next slide. So what is rewriting history? Rewriting history is actually, there's a definition for it. It says, select or interpret events from the past in a way that suits one's own particular purposes. Again, next slide. Another meaning of rewrite history. Definition: to change what has happened in the past. Imagine it has already happened in the past, and then they're going to change it to suit their own purposes. There's actually a meaning for all of this. Next slide. It's called historical negationism. I'm sorry, I'm not as fluent as Brother Joe with his slang. I try to do my best. Historical negationism, as he calls it, negationism. Well, historical negationism or denialism is an illegitimate distortion of the historical record. In an attempt to revise the past, illegitimate historical revision may use techniques inadmissible, improper historical discourse, such as presenting known forged documents as genuine, inventing ingenious but implausible reasons for distrusting genuine documents, attributing conclusions to books and sources that report the opposite, manipulating statistical series to support the given point of view, and deliberately mistranslating text in languages other than the revisionist. So the first part, you should take note, presenting known forged documents as genuine. So the automatic succession, the affidavit of accession, that's false. But they will pass it as truth. Now, this is an important way for us to understand why these things are happening. Next slide. Again, we have the timeline. We know that in 1994, it was Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, and it's supposed to be until the end. But 2007 came, there was an amendment. 2008 came, and there was another amendment of the Articles of Incorporation. Therefore, the automatic succession became null and void, and in 2009, the Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, as the executive minister, is now deemed null and void. So the question is, for us to fully understand why this happened, why there is an amendment in 2007, why there's an amendment in 2008, we need to know what happened between this time, 1994 and 2007 and 2008. What happened during that time? You know what happened as they tried to rewrite history? Next slide. There is actually a video that you can, I'm actually promoting their video. You have to watch it, and you will be thrilled to watch it, because this, the people who made this from the church, they're trying to pass this as something that's believable, credible. But if you hear the music that they're using, you would know that this is something that you cannot take seriously. That's the link below. You just find it. Who are the New Gens? This is how they're rewriting history. New Gens, a group that appeared in an online forum network 54 in the year 2000. This group posted anti-INC administration comments. During the administration of Brother Ryan G. Manalo, one of their members used the name New Gens INC Kadiwa. Remember, one of their members used that name. Next slide. You can watch the whole video. I'm just presenting parts of it so that, for our discussion, but I encourage you, watch the whole video. You'll be amazed and thrilled. So they're trying to pass up, like in 1994, there was like 1914, and 2000, there's New Gens, and 2009, here goes, the fallen angels. So therefore, in their presentation of this so-called evidence, the fallen angels are the same as the New Gens and are the same as the light 1914. So they're saying that those who objected to the church administration are the same ones who objected now, and the same ones are called the fallen angels. So that's how they're rewriting history. How can we say that they are rewriting history? Because not everyone knows what really happened. Next slide. Again, the reason why we're discussing this is because we wanted to know what prompted the change, why there was an amendment. All of a sudden, everything was fine. We have an incoming executive minister, should the existing executive minister should pass. But then something happened that prompted Brother Ranyo G. Manalo to make an amendment in 2008, nullifying the automatic succession. So our question is, what happened then? Next slide. What we will present to you are the historical facts of what really happened. Their version, I'm really amused on how Brother Zane is trying to spin this off to make it believable, saying that the fallen angels are the new gens, that we are the new gens. That is so far from the truth, brother. Why? Because we know this for a fact, that STF, or the Special Task Force, you know that. Today's Special Task Force, or STF for short, is what used to be new gens in 2004 or earlier, because in 2004 to 2006, it was only then that they were investigated and actually found out, because they were already inside the ministry of the evangelical ministry. Again, new gens are majorly composed of Phil-Ams, Filipino Americans, and other foreigners who were more liberated and outspoken. What else? Many of the new gens decided to join the ministry in the Philippines. These new gens ministerial students were handpicked by Sister Babylin V. Manalo and were then officially called the STF, or the Special Task Force. So they were recruited, none other than, next slide, by the wife of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Now, these new gens ministerial students, handpicked by Sister Babylin, and next slide, the STF was placed directly under the office of the Deputy Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. These were the first ones. I know you probably know some of them. There's Brother Rex Rosquites, Brother Philip Vasquez or Velasco or something. And there's my classmate, Brother Joji Crososomo, Brother Paquito Ibanez, Brother Mark Crelentia. I think Richard Kalangan is also there. There's a lot of them. And most of them, if not all, are foreigners. If not all, most of them. And they were placed directly under the office of the Deputy Executive Minister. Do you imagine, can you imagine how powerful that group is? We don't have much time anymore. I wanted to provide you with all the things about the STF because we are privy to that information. But here are some of the things. Next slide. These are the names of some of them. You probably know them. They were assigned special privileged tasks in different fields. Some of them were in IT, information technology. Some of them were in music and video productions, photography, etc. You know, music and video, that's where Jojo de Guzman and Sister Gemma, you know, they became chummy and they became girlfriend and boyfriend and then eventually married. But did you know who was the pioneer leader of the STF? Not many know this. Next slide. The first leader of the STF was Brother Joji Crisostomo. The reason why I know this is because Brother Joji was a classmate of mine. He was section Micah. Next slide. If you can zoom in, you'll find Brother Joji somewhere over there. You know, that's me in the middle. On the third row is on the fourth row on the right. A bit to the right, that's Brother Joji. So we know what happened during the time of the STF because most of my classmates, being either professional or graduate students, they graduated, I mean, they were also recruited to be STF. Next slide. So Jojo de Guzman came into the picture. Jojo de Guzman was also a new gens. Also joined the ministry and was also recruited to become STF. Now, here's the drama. Jojo de Guzman eventually aspired to be the head of STF, and there was a power struggle. And all of the STF, especially the foreigners, one of which was my cousin, knows what was happening. And it was an internal struggle. Next slide. But somebody eventually won. And we all know who won. Eventually became the leader of the STF. So Brother Zane, I hope you will get your facts straight. I hope you will learn what really happened and be truthful about it. Okay, because New Gens is STF and it's not us. We were the ones who discovered who the New Gens were. We were the ones who discovered who were the STF. Next slide. And Jojo Crisostomo requested, because of that struggle, he requested to have a one-on-one meeting with Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. I would challenge Brother Eduardo V. Manalo to deny this, because it was known to all of us, especially in our section. There was a meeting between Brother Joji Crisostomo and Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. It was made secret so that it will not leak out anymore, so that it will not cause a scandal in the ranks of the STF. It was a silent takeover of the STF leadership. And what came out is that Brother Joji Crisostomo was given a position in the INC TV as a talent. And Brother Jojo de Guzman became the head of the STF that was formerly New Gens. So Brother Zane, the leaders of the New Gens were the leaders of the STF. I hope you understand that. Because you weren't there, we were. Next slide. The STF, all of the pioneer members of the STF were young kids, except probably Brother Rex, or foreign BEM students who were close friends of Brother Angelo Manalo, the son of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. They're all chummy there. And one of them is Brother Basi. There's a lot, actually. There's a lot of them. Next slide. And STF members were also mostly computer gamers with Brother Angelo. No, this is not an RPG game that Brother Eduardo is doing. This is actually the ordination of Brother Basi. And the reason why we know this is that there was one incident that the son of Brother Rolando Esguerra, I forgot his name. The son of Brother Rolando Esguerra was playing with Brother Angelo. The son of Brother Rolando is the smallest among their group, and Brother Angelo was already big then, and they were playing, they were roughing it up, and lo and behold, the arm of Brother Rolando's son broke, because I don't know if he fell or something. So it was on a cast, and Brother Angelo was so guilty of what happened. The next day, after having a cast, he sent over, I think that time, it was a PlayStation console. And it was, after that, almost all of the STF wanted their arms to be broken off. You get a free PlayStation. So they were the young ones, they were the gamers, they were the friends and chummy of Brother Angelo, and the rest were people from abroad. So these were the composition of the STF primarily. Now I wanted to discuss more, but we've been going on and don't want to keep much of your time. We will have another episode just for this, because we wanted to present historical facts that the other side has to rebut or disprove. But for those who are easily gullible, you can believe what they're saying. But those who knows the truth, we should not be deceived. Why should we not be deceived, brothers and sisters? Why are we even studying all of this? It's so easy to just swallow everything, accept the lies to be true, so that it will be peaceful, so they won't bother us. Why are we fighting the deception? Why? Next slide. Because they're rewriting history, and this is what we're doing. Next slide. Because the Bible says in 1 Timothy 4:1-2, now the Holy Spirit tells us clearly that in the last times, some will turn away from the true faith. They will follow deceptive spirits and teachings that come from demons. These people are hypocrites and liars, and their conscience are dead. Brothers and sisters, the reason why we're fighting the deception, because the Holy Spirit tells us clearly, in these last times, in our time, brethren, there will be some who will turn away from the true faith. The true faith. the faith that will carry us to salvation, they will turn away from it. Why? Because instead of following God and His teachings and His pristine doctrines, they would follow deceptive spirits and teachings that comes from those people being played by the demons. They would believe the lies as if they were truth. That's why the Bible says these people are hypocrites, they're liars, and what about their conscience? They're already lying, they're already dead. So brothers and sisters, it is important for us to be able to have that ability to use the mind that God has given us. Do not accept everything as if it was gospel truth. You have the ability to discern, to know right from wrong, truth from lies. Then use that ability. Use that God-given gift. And if you should know what is truth and what are lies, then follow the truth. Not, this is the truth, this is the lies, I'll still go with the lies. No. Deception will lead to apostasy. And there are those who have already embraced apostasy. Let us not be among those, because there are those that the Bible says will be the small remnant. If not for them, then everyone would have been made like Gomorrah, would have been made like Sodom. Let us pray to our Lord God and thank Him for the ability for us to discern right from wrong. Let us all pray. Our loving Father in heaven, thank you so much, O God, for once again you have given us this time for us to be able to hear your words, to be able to be presented with the facts before us, and to be able to learn from it. The faith that you have given us, Father, we feel your Holy Spirit guiding us so that we may be able to follow what is right and to be able to follow you and your commandments, Father, and in order for us to be worthy of the salvation that you have promised us. Our Father in heaven, may you please bless all of our brothers and sisters, especially those whom you have chosen to be enlightened. Allow them not only to be enlightened, but to be able to give them the courage that they need, to be able to stand up on the side of your righteousness, follow your teachings and your commandments, for us to be worthy of the salvation that you have promised us. Father in heaven, there are those who are still persecuted and oppressed, especially those in dangerous places. There are those in hiding, and even those who are still in prison. Father in heaven, we know at your appointed time, you will vindicate all of us, and all of us will be joined once more, and we will be able to give glory to your holy name. Allow us to be able to receive the blessings coming from you. And these blessings we will use, Father, in furtherly propagating your name, Father, and embracing even our enemies and those who treat us as our enemies with the love and compassion coming from you. Our Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much. Because of you, the Father listens to our prayers. Because of you, He continues to forgive us of the sins that we have committed. Our Lord God in heaven, we are confident that you have heard our prayers. You have forgiven us of the sins that we have committed. And you will continue to protect us from all harm and continue to guide us as we sojourn in this world. For all of these things we ask and beg in the name of our Lord, Christ Jesus. Amen. Brothers and sisters, thank you very much for bearing with us with this time. And I hope we've learned a lot from this episode that we have done. There will be more proof that we will provide, and everything that you have seen here, all the documents, we will provide on our website. Again, that's smallremnant.org/archives. You can go there and you can be able to access these documents, download them, download all of these documents, review them, examine them, verify them with authorities or people who know things about the law, especially corporations, and even with accountants. This will be our tool for us to be able to discern what's right and what is not. So brothers and sisters, again, thank you very much. And we hope that we will see again each other next week. Hopefully Brother John will be hosting our Bible study. Again, I will be back with another episode to continue about the exposés regarding the authenticity and validity of Brother Eduardo V. Manalo's ascension as the executive minister. Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, Brother Michael, all of those in the gang, I hope you won't skip this part, especially the bank loans, especially the amended Articles of Incorporation of 2008. Don't play deaf with me, okay? Hope to see you soon. And God bless everyone. Thank you very much, po.
Really? You have a light now?